Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. Yes, it was one of those days, wasn't it? Everything seemed to be absolutely fine, and then that happened. And it was really weird and out of step with everything that had come before it. But that's Tottenham Hotspur. It really is. And of course, then there's the wingbacks. Wingbacks are utterly crucial. If you're getting overloaded in midfield, the way to bypass that is to get your wingbacks flying down the flanks. Flying down the flanks. That was I said flying down the flannels rather than channels. You've got to get the ball quickly to the wingbacks. The wingbacks have to get down there and they have to turn your, attacking thing into a front five almost. And that's where Spurs just uninspiring, both of them. Look, Conte is really angry with the Matty Cash challenge on Romero. Matt Doherty kind of spoke about it again after this match when asked about players being protected, because there was a few tough tackles. Mwepu probably, pretty much definitely had enough opportunities to get a second yellow card, which was why Potter hooked him at half time. Also, I forgot to say Kulusevski probably should have gone as well. That was an intent to elbow someone, and that's all you need. You don't have to connect. It has to be the intent is the way it's done. So, yes, he was probably a bit of a lucky boy that VAR and the referee and the assistants all decided it wasn't. But, yeah, when it came to the Doherty challenge last week, obviously Conte is absolutely... Yeah, you can see seething about that, because Matt Doherty was finding his form and he was providing a key element to Conte's team, is that wide pushing on wing back who essentially is like another attacker in the box. And Emerson, he's a solid fullback. I'll say this every time. He's a solid fullback, a solid right back, but fullbacks don't always make wing backs, and he's not. There were so many opportunities yesterday when he got to a certain point and you knew he had no idea what to do with the ball. Not a clue. And as I always say, the joke in the media box is, if Emerson wins you a corner, that's the best case scenario you're pretty much going to get from him. He's still got one assist to his name. 38 appearances this season, one assist. 3 of those games for Barcelona, but 35 for Tottenham. One assist in all of that. He didn't put in a single cross into the box against Brighton and didn't make a single attempt to dribble the ball forward. There, in a nutshell, is why your right wing back didn't do anything to help the team shape. Look, defensively, I thought he was okay. I didn't think he did too much wrong, but unfortunately, when you're a wing back, your role is only half defensively. It's about so much more than that. And that's where I was really disappointed with Sergio Reguilon as well. I thought Sergio Reguilon offered as little as Emerson did. Very, very little coming from him. Reguilon had a lower passing success rate than anyone in the Spurs lineup, barring Kane. Just 61.5% of his 26 passes found their mark, and he made just one cross and that flew off target. This is the thing that I kind of find a bit bewildering with Reguilon, is I feel he's got the elements and the skill set to be a very good wing back. I don't really understand why it's not working for him. He said himself, look, hasn't played as a wing back before, so he is adapting. I just feel that with his pace, he should be doing so much more when he gets in the final third. But no, he was very poor, to be honest, yesterday. And I wouldn't be surprised if Sessegnon comes back into the team for Brentford. If Conte feels he's fit enough to start a match, you kind of felt that before his injury he was being preferred. And I think that's when we were seeing goals and assists and stuff was coming down that left-hand side. Obviously, Reguilon, when he replaced him against Everton, came on and scored. But I feel like Sessegnon seemed like the more consistent attacking threat. And I feel like Conte is going to think the same way. So it's an if, because obviously they've got to get him to the right place. Physically and also mentally, in his confidence, in his hamstring. If they can get him to that place for next Saturday, I wouldn't be stunned if Sessegnon starts, purely because you can't have another match where both wing-backs are just nullified and doing nothing in terms of going forward. I think you have to. And, I mentioned the subs earlier as well. They didn't cover themselves in any glory. I wouldn't, if I was going to criticise Conte for anything, I do feel like the way he adapted to the game was a little bit predictable. We now know that Lucas is always going to be the first sub. We know that poor old Stevie B, despite the fact that he'd been scoring goals galore, was going to always come on late in the match. And I think I said to one of my fellow, I think maybe it was John Veal or Guesty, I said he'll bring on Winks as well because he'll want to add another body to that midfield, and actually took off Bentancur for Winks in the end. Whereas for me, I don't know. Look, who am I? I'm just some bloke who sits on his couch and writes about Tottenham. I am not one of the top managers in the world like Antonio Conte was. The only thing I would say that I kind of felt the game did need Sessegnon. I felt that the wide areas were where Spurs were really struggling, and that meant they were bunching into the middle and there was no space. So personally, I would have maybe put on Sessegnon for a Reguilon, and perhaps maybe your Bergwijn or your Lucas comes on to replace Emerson and just opens up more of a threat. Because, subs came on. Oh, Lucas did the thing that, when he's not, Lucas can come on and, actually the best way to say this is John Veal from the Press Association, who obviously I'm pretty much sat next to at most games along with Guesty. He said, I'm hoping he doesn't mind me saying this, but I agree with it, so I'm throwing my weight behind it as well. Is that he said when Lucas comes on, he creates chaos for the opposition, but he also creates chaos with Tottenham's system. Tottenham's system then goes completely out of whack because Lucas just does what Lucas does. He'll pick up the ball and he'll just head down and run, and that kind of messes up with the system. And that works sometimes. Against Newcastle, he came on, drove through the centre, resulted in a goal for Bergwijn. But it just felt like yesterday was one of those days when you see how it doesn't work when he doesn't do things right. And, I put in my player ratings, I kind of wrote it down here. Came off the bench, ran about a bit, but offered nothing. And that's it. And I feel like that's why he's lost his place to Kulusevski, because sometimes Lucas can be all bark with no bite. And that's what he'll do. And he'll come on and he'll run around a lot and he'll lose the ball eventually. And I mean, when we talk about Kulusevski and Lucas, it is a bit like night and day, because Kulusevski already has almost half of the 15 assists Lucas has recorded during more than 4 years in the Premier League. 15 assists in 4 years in the Premier League. So to put that into context, Kulusevski has got almost half the assists, the Premier League assists of Lucas in 12 appearances. Lucas has played 132 times in the Premier League. I think Kulusevski's got 6. It's either 6 or 7. I can't remember what the number was now. But he is almost at the half of Lucas's assists in 12 matches. And that's where Lucas lets himself down, because he's got all the talent, I think. And he's got the pace allied to it. But just sometimes that head goes down and he does not look for other people. And that's why he's a player who doesn't have the assists. And the trouble is, he doesn't have the goals to back that up. I think his goals in the Premier League over 4 years are only like 18 or 19. He will come up trumps in European matches and cup matches, and he'll do, what you want him to do in those games. Maybe if you want to be harsh, maybe against lower opposition and things like that. And I just think if someone could take Lucas Moura and just kind of almost get him back to basics and explain to him, about creating chances. And this is why there's a little part of me that wonders, although obviously Bergwijn's future is related and linked into it, whether Lucas is part of Tottenham going in the long-term future, because I don't think he's going to be a regular starter unless there's an injury to Kulusevski. Because Kulusevski, as I said, offers more of a balance to that front three and opportunities for the others to score, and Lucas just doesn't do that. Look, I know he's a popular player and he's had some big moments for Tottenham. Lucas gave us that night in Amsterdam, which was just one of the greatest Spurs nights of the modern era. And he scored some big goals against Barcelona, Manchester United, Man City. Don't get me wrong, he comes up in big moments. but as a regular, consistent contributor to the team, I just don't think he's there. And maybe that's what makes it more frustrating, because I know he can do it.